When I was younger, sports were anything but stressful. One of my earliest memories is of my friends and I running outside to recess for a game of pickup basketball or soccer. At the time, it was about having fun and including everyone. It really wasn't who's better or who's worse. It was just having a good time. This didn't really last long though, and as the years went by, we began to be more exclusive and rank people by how good they were at each sport. At first, it was after-school curricular activities, which then led to regional, national, and national teams, middle school teams, high school teams, and now the fast-approaching college teams. As we all transitioned through these levels, it wasn't easy for all of us. You could say sometimes it was emotionally damaging, as we had to watch as many of our close teammates were cut from these teams. When they were cut from these teams, they were just told that they weren't good enough, and leaving us, the ones who were told we were good enough, to wonder when would it be our time as well? Would we be next? Personally for me, I play soccer, and out of the 370,000 soccer players in the United States, only 37,000 of these female soccer players will go on to play in college, which is 1 out of 10 people. So chances aren't really looking that great right now. And overall, that's 5% of all high school students will only go on to play their sport in college. With chances like these, that makes every game and every practice very stressful for people like myself who don't really manage stress very well. Who knows, maybe one bad practice could lead to being thrown off the team, never to have another chance again. Or that one good game, maybe a college coach is there. But overall, it just leads to very stressful situations. It's how you handle it that can lead to be either successful or not successful in this very stressful world. Although student athletes aren't really alone. A few years ago, previously famous Tiger Woods, golfer at the time, when his scandal came to the public and everyone found out about his divorce, his ranking in the PGA plummeted. At the time, no one really knew why, but after a few people hypothesized that maybe it was stress getting to him. I mean, you have the public world who's against him, and then you have his personal life that's against him. So overall, it's a very stressful environment, and he knows that everyone's trying to focus on him at the same time, so he underperforms. But along with this, stress can be very negative on you physically. When you become stressed out, your brain senses these situations and sends a message all over your internal organs. This causes your blood pressure to rise, your blood sugar to go up, and your heart to beat much faster. This in small amounts can be beneficial, but in excess, it can be overwhelming, especially on your immune system. And every day when we encounter the different viruses, our immune system has to be very strong. So with a weakening immune system, you become more vulnerable to these everyday viruses. I mean, have you seen the list at the health center around finals week? People are practically lining up out the door. It's crazy. And while immune system can be the problem, there's also the situation of cortisol. Recently, scientists did an experiment on rats. They injected rats with cortisol, which people produce in bigger amounts as they become more stressed. What happened was, the rats that were injected with cortisol, they found that their brain cells died off at the same rate as when those same rats were placed under high levels of stress. Now, that really allowed scientists to conclude that when we are under stress and we produce cortisol in our minds, in our brains, that it's really toxic to us overall because it's just a toxic hormone. So this can have long-lasting effects like aging prematurely and having a hard time coming back from injuries that may not be as severe to a typical athlete. Well, it really depends the situation you're in when you handle stress, that it can either be helpful or negative. For me, a time it was actually helpful for me was in a soccer game I was in a few years ago. We were in the regional championships and we were down to the final penalty kicks of the game. It was my turn to go up and I thought there was no possible way I could ever make it. With all the people watching me, all I could think about was the way that everyone was looking at me and the way my heart was beating. And stepping up that day, I had no faith in myself whatsoever. But as the whistle blew, I had found myself having a strange sense of calm and relaxation and being able to focus strangely on the ball. That day, I did make the penalty kick, and although we didn't win that day, I was successful in doing that, so that was good. But really, like, what may have been the determining factor of that me being successful that day could have been what many athletes find to be helpful in situations of intensity, which is an adrenaline rush. So what happens is your brain sends a message to the hippocampus, which is kind of the message center of the nervous system. So that causes your blood pressure and blood sugar, as I said before, to go up. But this time it's not really negative since it's all like in small amounts, so it's not really overpowering. When it's negative, it's more long term. So when that happens, it sends a message to your adrenal glands, which begin to produce adrenaline. And adrenaline makes you feel good, so it allows you to focus better on the task at hand. So that allows athletes to become successful with that kind of stress. So personally for me, I've found that you can be in a positive situation dealing with stress, and stress can become more helpful. But if you're in a negative situation, like Tiger Woods was, it can be like permanently damaging and actually can start to threaten your life. So I think that if we can start by kind of bringing the inclusiveness of the kindergarten recess time and when we were younger and bring that up into the adult world, we can start to work together toward a world that is overall just less stressed out. Thank you.